President Obama, in an interview with the Atlantic magazine, said that we are not losing the fight against ISIS or ISIL or whatever he wants to call it. This, according to Politico, the United States not losing the fight against the Islamic State, President Obama said in an interview published yesterday. No. Quote, no, I don't think we're losing, Obama said in the interview with the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, referencing the group's taking of Ramadi. Quote, there's no doubt there was a tactical setback, although Ramadi had been vulnerable for a very long time, primarily because these are not Iraqi security forces that we have trained or reinforced. Obama spoke to Republican criticism of his withdrawal from Iraq, sharing one of the lessons he drew from the initial 2003 invasion. Quote, I know there are some in Republican quarters who have suggested that I have overlearned the mistakes of Iraq. And in fact, just because the 2003 invasion did not go well doesn't argue that we should go back in. One lesson that I think is important to draw from what happened is that if the Iraqis themselves are not willing or capable to arrive at the political accommodations necessary to govern, if they are not willing to fight for the security of their country, we cannot do that for them. Can you imagine? And I don't like making Hitler references or comparisons. I don't like doing it. But could you imagine President Obama during World War II? Could you imagine Obama actually getting involved in that? Or would he just tell Churchill, hell, if you can't defend yourself, we're not going to help you out. I mean, if you're a country, if you can't defend yourself, we're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to get involved. I mean, what is this? What message does this send to our allies? Ukraine, we've got your back. If Russia invades you, well, never mind. If you can't defend yourself, we're not going to help you out. That's unbelievable. You have a president here who is saying, okay, Iraq, because I disagreed with the invasion, because I disagreed with the war, even though he did not, because now looking back on it, I disagreed with the war, I'm not going to get involved. Screw you. Fight for yourselves. If you can't defend yourself from terrorists who are throwing people off of buildings, who are lopping off people's heads, blowing each other up, if you can't defend yourself, if you can't defend your country, don't expect the most powerful military in the world to come and save you. Don't expect that to happen. If you're not willing to give ISIS a little bit of power, and that is what he is saying. Remember, listen to the line again. If the Iraqis themselves are not willing or capable to arrive at the political accommodations necessary to govern, what accommodations does the president want to give to ISIS here in Iraq? This is his mind. He's speaking to a very friendly magazine, The Atlantic here. This is scary. This is very dangerous talk. And what's sad about all of this is we're going into the Memorial Day weekend. Which, by the way, there's a difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. You can look it up. We're going into Memorial Day weekend. All of those who died in Iraq. The president's giving the middle finger to them, in my opinion. That might be harsh. But when I read something like that where the U.S. went in, we freed a country from a dictator. Whether you agreed with the decision or not, we freed a country from a dictator. And now, and we lost so many people in Iraq. And now we're allowing that country to be taken over by a terrorist organization. A terrorist organization that wants to kill us, that wants to kill other Muslims, that wants to kill anyone who disagrees with them. We are allowing that to happen. All this president is doing is giving the middle finger to those who sacrificed their lives. That's sad. 770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. We were discussing President Obama saying, we're not losing to ISIS. Received a text message earlier. Well, I guess, maybe we're not losing since we're not fighting. We're not doing anything. Yeah. I guess, sadly, if you're not fighting, if you're not doing anything, I guess you can't be losing. I guess occasionally we're shipping some weapons over, and occasionally we're making a couple of bombing runs. But overall, the president's made it clear he's not going to send troops in. He's not going to do what he needs to do as commander-in-chief. He's not going to do what it's going to take in order to secure Iraq. And really, at the end of the day, to try and secure a little bit of security for the United States, in my opinion. If you let Iraq fall, and that's what this president is doing, if you let Iraq fall, that's going to present a huge danger to this country. ISIS already presents a huge danger, and this president isn't doing anything. Instead, the president wants to call them a JV team. The president wants to say that they're under control, that ISIS is fleeing. We were told a while back that ISIS, they're so scared of us right now that they don't even hold rallies in the daytime. Yet we're seeing pictures of them holding rallies in the daytime. They don't travel in, large groups anymore because they're so scared of the United States, yet they travel in convoys all the time. The Washington Examiner with peace. No help for Iraq or Syria. White House said Thursday President won't consider sending more substantial U.S. military presence to Iraq or Syria to fight the Islamic State, even though the terrorist group's recent success in taking more territory in those countries has prompted calls for a change in strategy. Quote, the president is not going to be in a position where he's going to consider a large-scale military deployment, said White House spokesman Josh Earnest. For those who are calling for a change in strategy, I would encourage them to be specific. How about you do what it takes to win? Quote, I don't think they will find either a lot of support on the part of the American people for a large-scale deployment of military resources to essentially re-invade Iraq or invade Syria. See, this is where they don't get it. It's not about public polling. I personally don't care where the public stands on this. And by the way, I tend to think public polling is starting to swing the other way. We're re-invading Iraq? No. Morons. We're trying to protect a country. We really do have to think, thank God Obama wasn't president during World War II. I really just, you hear the rhetoric coming out of the White House. Hell, if you're a country and you can't protect yourself, we're not going to come and protect you. We're not going to do that. If you can't protect yourself from Hitler, we're not going to help. Maybe you should have had a better military. Yeah, during the Cold War in the 70s, 70s and 80s during the Cold War, thank God he wasn't here. For those of you, and I know I keep going back to this, and I get emails, people complaining that I harp on this a little bit, but I really don't care. For those of you who stayed home on Election Day, because Mitt Romney wasn't conservative enough, let me ask you something. You think President Romney would tell Iraq, screw you, you're all by yourself? You think You think that President Romney would be giving the middle finger to those who lost their lives in Iraq? 'Cause that's what the president's doing. Now, people are going to be looking back over Memorial Day weekend, observing Memorial Day weekend. And that's what you do. You think about the lives that were lost. And I think Jody sent it to me the other day. They lost their lives for nothing. And I would say originally, no. You know, unfortunately, that's what this president has made it. That's what this president has made it into, that they did lose their lives for nothing. And it's very, very unfortunate that this is where it's taken us to. But, you know, with this president, I'm sorry, if you would have a Mitt Romney right now as president of the United States, even though he may not be the most conservative person in the world, I don't think he would be taking this attitude. I don't think he would be this weak. I think he would be standing up for the Iraqi people. I think he would be standing up for the United States instead of backing down like this current president. Let's go back to the phones. Now, Harold, you're on KFYO.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I know you didn't mean that they wasted their lives, but the soldiers that followed there, they did their job.
Yeah.
And they even the ones, all of them are examples to the rest of us and to the nation.
Absolutely.
They did their job completely. They did the best they could, and it was just problems.
Well, I think
for the politicians here at home.
You know, unfortunately, I think Obama has furthered the thought that it was a waste. That his actions and inaction, really, with Iraq and pulling out early and now allowing a country to be overrun by terrorists. He is, I guess the better word would be soured their memories, soured the jobs that they did. I don't know. It's one of those where if you would have a strong leader right now, I don't think anyone would be thinking, except for the far left, would be thinking that soldiers wasted their lives in Iraq.
They did their job.
Yeah.
And the country and our leadership let them down is the problem.
Yep, absolutely. Harold, great call.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's go back to the phones. And Mallory, you're on KFYO.
Thank you, Chad. The folks that didn't vote in the 2012 election probably are not listening to your program now.
No, we have people who, I tell you, there are people who call me, will send me emails. Chad, I'm not gonna vote this time. If Jeb Bush gets the nomination, Chad, I didn't vote for Mitt Romney. There are people who listen to this show, and they get very mad at me when I bring it up. But there are people who listen to the show who did not vote.
Then those who are listening and are not voting are making a huge mistake, because once this country's gone, we're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mallory. 770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. There was a group that I spoke to last week, and this is one of the things that I emphasized. You got to get out there. You got to, number one, educate yourself on the candidates. Beyond anything they're saying today, educate yourself on the candidates. But then you've got to get out there and vote. Even if your guy isn't the one who got the nomination. If you're pulling for Ted Cruz to win the nomination, and Ted Cruz doesn't get it, but Jeb Bush does. I trust Jeb Bush when it comes to the security of this nation. I trust Jeb Bush a lot more than I trust Hillary Clinton. In fairness, I don't trust Hillary Clinton at all. So I guess no matter who the candidate is for the Republican side, I'm going to trust them a lot more for the security of this nation than Hillary Clinton. I'm going to trust the judges that Jeb Bush or Mike Huckabee or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Scott Walker. I'm going to trust the judges that they put on the Supreme Court more than I'm going to trust the judges that Hillary Clinton appoints to the Supreme Court. You know, there are so many issues, so many places where, yes, there are big differences between the Democrat opponent and the Republican opponent. It may not be on immigration. It may not be on that one issue. It may not be there. But on so many other issues, there would be. I find it hard to believe that there's anyone out there who believes that Mitt Romney would be dealing with ISIS the same way that Barack Obama is. You know, today, before I went on the air, we got news that another city in Syria, or in Iraq, I'm sorry, fell to ISIS. Smaller city. One near Ramadi. Another one fell to ISIS. I believe a President Romney would do a lot more than Obama. Over the weekend, while you're grilling out, if it, doesn't rain, whatever you're doing, be sure to observe Memorial Day. Look back, think back, and just say thanks to those who gave up their lives in protection of this country and protection of our freedoms as they're under assault right now.